Hi, everybody. I hope you're having a good day. I'm Tim Hockett. As we think about division in America and all the things that cause that divide, I want us to consider the concept of responsibility. Most of us think of a responsible person as someone who is dependable, whom we can count on. If you're asked to give a reference for somebody, you might be asked, well, do you think she's responsible? What are they asking? Is she reliable? Or maybe is she grown up? I like that idea of being grown up. We even use it in kind of a funny sense when you say, yeah, I think I was the only grown up in the room. Responsibility usually starts with us when we're kids, right? I mean, I remember distinctly learning to do chores when I was asked, my dad asking me to take out the trash. Sometimes my sister and I were rewarded with allowance, but most of my childhood I wasn't. My folks weren't really strict, but as I grew older, I learned more and more about responsibility. And when I was about 16, having got a job cleaning a machine shop, I actually had some money that I had earned. That was an odd feeling. And one day I came home and I noticed the phone bill on top of the TV. I think it was for like $13. This is a long time ago. I grabbed it and I was determined to pay it. And I didn't know how to pay it. I'd never written a check or anything. So I went down to the office of the phone company and I paid the bill in cash. Later in the week, Mom asked out loud, has anybody seen the phone bill? I said, I paid it, Mom. And my mom looked at my dad, and my dad looked at my mom, and she said, thank you, Timmy, but you don't have to pay bills. And then, of course, Dad joked and said, oh, no, I'll give you a lot more to pay. You see, I didn't realize that I was growing up. I was becoming a little bit responsible. By the way, that wasn't a commonplace in my life. Dad coached me in those early years of my jobs to work in such a way that I became indispensable for my boss. That was good advice. He was teaching me to be reliable, to be available, to be hardworking and responsible. When as a kid you live at home, you usually don't carry much responsibility. But once you get a car and a job, it starts to sink in. Man, I had a lead foot when I was an early driver and I got a couple of tickets. And gee, we got a visit from our insurance man to home and he talked to my dad and they excluded me off of my dad's policy. And so I had to go across the tracks, another side of town, to this little strip mall insurance company to get very expensive car insurance as a teenage boy, the price of which was due to my stupidity. That was a hard lesson. I think about half of my pay went just to pay my car insurance. Over time, I got married and raised a family and attended university, and I worked my way up in jobs until finally I was an executive of a large nonprofit organization. It was there that I learned that responsibility is also used to describe how much obligation you carry. At one point, I was responsible for 350 employees and several $1 million worth of grants and contracts. Almost every day I was signing my name to something, committing myself or my agency to heavy obligations. I was now in a position to take credit for some great successes. But I could also be held accountable and take the blame for any failures. You see, a key definition of responsibility is allowing yourself to be held accountable. Well, when I paid that phone bill, I acted responsible, even though I wasn't technically responsible. The folks were very happy, but that was not expected. As I grew older, however, expectations of my performance and behavior grew and grew. I did okay most of the time, but I got to tell you, sometimes I dropped the ball. I'm sure all of you have your memories of lessons learned about responsibility. maybe even got into some big trouble for being irresponsible. Most adults are expected to do what they say they're going to do, like show up to work regularly, like pay their bills, and for sure not become a burden to others. We call that personal responsibility. When we effectively take care of ourselves and our families and avoid those landmines of life like addiction or violence, we're usually viewed as responsible. But I also want to remind you there's that other kind of responsibility. In addition to personal responsibility, there's social responsibility. It's here that in our American society, we seem to be really divided. You see, everyone lives in some sort of a community, some kind of a community. You know, we walk on streets that we didn't engineer. We rely on local police and fire departments. We use local parks, maybe even a public restroom. We may have community centers or museums or community health centers. A critical part of social responsibility is to view yourself as a critical part of that larger whole, as someone who contributes to the benefit of everybody. And so we support schools, even if we don't have kids. And we support public works like traffic lights or street lights because it makes our community safer. And we pay our taxes and maybe even we volunteer to help others. When we have a balanced sense of both personal responsibility and social responsibility, the community becomes stronger and more united. So, my encouragement to you is make your bed in the morning, clean up after yourself, don't take on more debt than you can confidently carry, build a little safety net of a savings account, be a reliable parent, partner, friend, worker. Oh, but you know what? If the community wants a library, support it. When they want a food bank, support it. When they want a drug treatment facility or homeless shelter, support it. You see, when you use your strength to help someone else, you're both made stronger. The person you give to is made stronger, and you're made stronger because you're a better person. Think about it. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like, share. I'm Tim Hockett.